Hi everyone, here at the Ring of Fame Plaza. I'm Chris Hall, joined by Jim Sacamano, and this is the 2014 Ring of Fame special here on Comcast. Now, every year the Broncos choose a special former player or coach, Jim, who had a significant impact on the organization and honor them with the Ring of Fame unveiling. This year, there were three. I know how special the weekend is for you to be a part of, and now we get to kind of walk fans through what it was like for those 3 days.
It's a great weekend. It's very special. The people are always very honored. It was no different this year with Gene Mingo from the 1960 team, Rick Upchurch, a 2-decade All-NFL return man, and Dan Reeves, a great coach in Broncos history. There were a lot of warm moments shared. There were a lot of warm moments that I had with them because the memories tie you together. It's a bond that never goes away. It was a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, it is a long weekend. They're busy both Friday, Saturday, and then of course on game day Sunday. And it starts out here at Ring of Fame Plaza when they each get to see their pillars for the first time.
On behalf of my husband, Mr. Pat Bolin, and our family, I want to congratulate Gene Mingo, Rick Upchurch, and Dan Reeves on their distinguished careers and induction into the Denver Broncos Ring of Fame.
One thing I want to say, I love this man here. He shared with me years ago that, Gene, one of these days you'll make it into the Ring of Fame. And I said earlier, why has it taken so long? Jim said I saved a person's life. I didn't save that person's life, but I shared something to that individual that made them understand that you can be who you want to be. And when my accident happened in 1986, I made a promise to the media, to the Broncos, whoever cared about me and thought anything of me, that I was going to prove you wrong, that I was not a bad person, that I could gain your trust and love, and I hope that I've done that. But I'd like to say this to the Bronco organization, to the Bolin family. God knows I love you, and thank you so much for inviting me into the Ring of Fame. Thank you.
But I just want to say this. I am so thankful that the Denver Broncos took me. I believe this, folks. I believe this with all my heart. I believe that God has a destiny for each and every one of us. And all we have to do is sit still and be quiet and listen to him. Coming to the Denver Broncos and not knowing that they had a team was the best thing for me, and God knew that. Folks, I worked my butt off. Nothing was given to me. I was only 171 pounds when I played, 172 pounds. But let me give you some information. Nobody could measure my heart. Nobody could measure my desire. And I had folks back at home that I didn't want to let down. And that was my mother, my family, and my children. But folks, I am honored and I am thankful. And I'm thankful that my children are here and I can share this with them. My family is here. Gene, I'm honored. Dan, I'm honored. Denver Bronco organization, I'm honored. John Fox, go kick their ass, man, tomorrow, Sunday. We don't care anything about the Kansas City Chiefs. Bring home that trophy, buddy. We're behind you.
I'm thrilled to death to be, part of it and to go in, Gene, with you. And Rick is just really special. When you have a head coach goes into a Ring of Fame, a Ring of Honor, you got to thank an awful lot of people that are responsible for it. It's not about you. I fell into an unbelievable situation. Usually your first head coaching job, you're getting a bad football team. And, you know, gosh, it was anything but that. But I also got the job very, very late. I not only inherited it. If you look in the Ring of Fame, there's 7 guys, with Rick going in this year, I believe, if I'm correct. There's 7 guys that were on that football team when I came here. Now, you got 7 studs on your team, you know, you're pretty fortunate. And there's a lot of other guys that are probably going to be in there, you know, that were on the team, you know, when I came here. But thank y'all so much, greatest honor. I can't tell you how thrilled I am, and I just appreciate it so much. Thank you very much.
Absolutely a special night for Gene Mingo, Rick Upchurch, and Coach Dan Reeves, Jim. I think for a lot of people who have spent time around these guys, then you get to see them open up a little bit with those speeches. And this year, I remember, I mean, they stood out.
Yeah, I got to say, I've known those guys for a long, long time, but this was probably the first 3-day period in which any of us kissed each other on the cheeks. But it's very warm, it's emotional, and it's a raw emotion of a type that can only come. In fact, I got a card from Dan just a couple days ago in which he said, thank you for everything you did, for the very, very best honor I've ever received. And that was a very cool card, a very cool moment for me. It was neat.
Yeah, they all know that that's the time they get there, those 8, 9, 10 minutes to really explain what this honor means to them personally. And I think what stood out also to me is the fact that they all really took a moment to tie it back to owner Pat Bowlen and how special the whole weekend is for them and how proud they are to be a part of it. Again, we said there were 3 put in this year. We're going to meet one of them right after this break. A lot of players representing a lot of history there in that shot, Jim, wrapping the dinner on Friday night, setting the tone for the weekend. And let's start with who we're going to meet here first, Gene Mingo. I know he didn't waste any breath saying, hey, look, you know, finally. Okay, he did. He said that, of course. But going back to the fact one of the original Broncos, I think that really kind of puts into perspective what the Ring of Fame is really all about.
That's exactly right. The door is never closed. Time goes on. And there's always more of a focus on the present, but you know, we've all studied history and we've all read history books, and it's all inclusive. And the past is the prelude, sets the table for the present. It all ties together, and the Ring of Fame really, really does that for the Broncos and Broncos country.
As we said, not 1 this year, but 3. Dan Reeves, Rick Upchurch, but first, Gene Mingo. A special weekend for him. He exhaled and enjoyed every single second of it, starting, of course, with what it must have felt like there at halftime.
Gene Mingo is an original Bronco. He led the AFL in scoring twice and set the NFL single-season field goal record. A true pioneer, Gene was the first African-American place kicker in pro football. During his 5-year Bronco career, he was 5th in total points in pro football. He returned a punt 76 yards for a TD in the first game in Broncos and AFL history. Gene is one of just 3 players ever to score on 50-yard plays 5 different ways: rushing, passing, receiving, by punt return, and by field goal. At this time, Mrs. Bowlen is going to present Gene Mingo with his ring. And now, we direct all of our attention as we ask our fans to unveil the plaque with Gene Mingo's name on it for the Ring of Fame.
I appreciate those applause, because when I was sent away here in '64, it hurt me very much to come back and have to play against my family. I remember standing out at the 50-yard or 30-yard line to kick off, and I can still hear Bob Martin say, "Now kicking off for the Oakland Raiders, number 21, Gene Mingo." Yes, and the crowd booed me for forever. But let me tell you something, those boos turned into cheers, and that just let me know that you still love me. Thank you. I am so glad that I got that phone call from Joe Ellis. I became speechless when my wife handed me the phone. She said, "It's the Broncos." And I said, "Hello," and he said, "Gene, this is Joe Ellis. We just finished having our ring induction, and you're going into the ring." The Broncos have always been my home. The Broncos have always been my team. Here I was, a young black man that became the AFL or the NFL's first field goal kicker, joining a new team, having new teammates. Even though they talk about Dean Griffin buying the uniforms from a semi-pro team out of Arizona, let me tell you something. The ball players that wore those uniforms here in Denver, the more the fans out of town teased us about the striped socks and the actual color, the more we wanted to prove to them that it wasn't the uniform, it was the person inside the uniform. And we played just as hard, and a lot of the times they hated to come into town because they had to play the Broncos. Back in my day, as I mentioned to you earlier, there wasn't too many blacks on the team, and in order to keep a position on the team, it served a purpose to be multi-talented. And no matter what the coach asked me to do, I would do it. Play defensive back, play halfback, play wide receiver, and like I said, even went out there at certain times to play tackle and guard. Maybe it was one or two plays, but somebody had to do it. What I can tell you about the fans here in Denver, they were behind us from the very first game we played, coming back from back east and opening up our season here. There wasn't that many people in the stands, but those that were there were loud, and they cheered us on, they cheered us on. We have wonderful fans here. I walk past those that remember me, either pat me on the back, ask for an autograph, a handshake or something, and say thanks for what you did for us. That means a lot. I gotta let the fans know that I'm so happy to be back home. Having my name up there, having the fans hopefully cheer for me, it means a lot. I haven't been forgotten. This honor that's being bestowed upon me has made me realize that, as I said earlier, they may have disliked what happened, but they showed me that they still love me and invited me back into the family. And I really, truly, honestly appreciate that.
You often hear players who have already been inducted into this Ring of Fame equate it to being part of a bigger family, the Broncos family, and at times, we said before, part of Pat Bolin's family. Gene Mingo certainly feeling that way, getting his name unveiled up there in the Ring of Fame. Moving on to Rick Upchurch, Jim. I had a chance to talk to Rick a couple of times, and you talk about somebody who was incredibly excited. Yes. And I think the reason why, at least that he discussed a little bit with us, is because of the Broncos association with the fans. It was always important to him. He was talking back when he was younger, they would go door to door, and he thought that was incredible. That would never happen these days.
No, it wouldn't happen now, but again, the old is tied to the new. Rick Upchurch was always an electric, passionate individual, and I think his passion, not only for the game, the sport, the fans, the Broncos, all things orange, really came out that weekend once again. He was so deeply honored, kept saying it, and a great player, really the model of the modern day kick return dangerous player.
Yeah, Rick Upchurch, as I said before, he enjoyed every single second of it, and who wouldn't when your name is unveiled in the Broncos Ring of Fame?
Rick Upchurch was named All-Decade in both the 1970s and 1980s, the only player to earn 2 such honors as a Bronco. He was All-NFL 5 times, a 4-time Pro Bowler, retired as the leading punt returner in pro football history with over 3,000 yards. Uppy was the first NFL player to return 8 punts for touchdowns as well as being the first to return 4 punts for scores in one season. At this time, Mrs. Bolin is going to present Rick Upchurch with his ring. And now we direct all of our attention as we ask our fans to unveil the plaque with Rick Upchurch's name on it for the Ring of Fame.
All the Denver Bronco fans around the world, I couldn't have done this without you. I love you so very much. God bless you. Go Broncos! I'm most proud that I put in work. You know, I wasn't supposed to be in Denver. I remember Doc Urich came to me and he says, Rick, you know you weren't supposed to be here. And I said, really? He says, yes, there was a big fuss, man, with the, you know, in the draft. Why should we take him? He's little. We don't know if he can make it. And Doc Urich came in and he told those guys, I will bet you a steak dinner that Rick Upchurch will be Offensive Rookie of the Year. And I did. We started the Fuse here in Denver, Colorado, giving it an identity in the National Football League. We started the Fuse, and once we started that Fuse, it continued to burn until we got to Dan Reeves, Coach Dan Reeves, who took the team to 3 Super Bowls. And then you had Mike Shanahan, when this fuse got to the powder keg, and then it blew up with 2 Super Bowl champions with John Elway and the rest of those guys. So we started the fuse, Dan Reeves took it to him one point, and then Mike Shanahan and his crew finally set that thing off, and we are so proud that we're 2-time champions here in Denver, Colorado. When you go around, you know, the rest of the country, and everybody's saying, well, it's an old cow town. And then you hear Howard Cosell on Monday Night Football, that's an old cow town. And to be a part of that identity where you erase that stigma is a great thing. And that will live in my heart for the rest of my life, because we made a change. And every time I walk back here in Denver, I look around and I say, we helped make a change. We don't succeed as individuals, we succeed as teammates. And when you have all the guys coming down blocking for you, when you have coaches, man, making the plays and sending in plays so that you can succeed, it's more than just you. It's the whole gamut of everything. It's not about us, it's about the fans cheering us on. So you have all of this coming together to make us, or me, who we are. And I just thank the fans, my teammates, and the administration, the coaches, for allowing me to be here in this situation. And that recognition doesn't come without the work of my teammates and the coaches making sure that I'm in the right place at the right time. And I got all of my teammates, man, that are out there hustling and working very hard. And they did that. They made my job very easy. It's been over, what, 30 years or so that I've played. And for people to still recognize my name and recognize my face, sometimes people come up, I know you, you know, type of a thing, instead of me saying my name. So obviously I left some legacy here. And I am so thankful that I had the opportunity to play for the Denver Bronco organization. This will live with me for the rest of my life, and I am so thankful. I thank God every day.
That's what the Ring of Fame is all about, talking about legacies, and it's winning. A lot of great names up there, and so far, Jim, 2 more great ones added, Gene Mingo and Rick Upchurch.
Yeah, and each one of them made a great contribution to what the Broncos became, which is one of the winningest, most successful franchises in the history of pro football. And the legacy of tying the past to the present is part of what the Ring of Fame is all about, as you said, Chris.
These weekends, as I said, you've been a part of so many. What's your favorite part? Is it that moment when the player reacts to seeing their name, or is it maybe some things that happen off camera when you get a chance to catch up? What do you enjoy most?
It's kind of all of the above. Sometimes it's a private moment, which I've been around a long time, and I've been with these guys a long time. And Dan and I had some really emotional private moments. We were very, very tight, and that was very cool. He and his wife, Pam, my wife, Joanne. But then also when they pull down this this drape, this curtain, and see the bronze for the first time. It's a wow moment. I've never seen it be less than a wow moment for any player or coach who did it.
Dan Reeves, talking about wins, he had 110 of them. We've heard from Gene Mingo and Rick Upchurch so far. Up next, see how Dan Reeves enjoyed his Ring of Fame weekend. Up next here on the Denver Broncos Ring of Fame special. If you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, really carve out some time to come to the south side of Sports Authority Field at Mile High and check out this Ring of Fame Plaza. It really is something, and the best part is it doesn't close. It's open all the time. Just come down, you can see not only who is here, but really what it's like, a description of everything these players or coaches have accomplished and really kind of why they were chosen to be a part of the Ring of Fame.
That's right. In fact, it's lighted at night. And some have told me that it looks better at night, and I might add, best after a rainstorm. But it's hard to pick that glistening moment exactly.
And the biggest one in football in terms of an outdoor public honoring of former players or coaches, but not in sports. I'm trying to figure out, let's see. Jim, do you know?
Could be Monument Park in Yankee Stadium.
The Yankees. Yeah, of course. Everyone knows Jim Sacamano, huge Yankees fan. One person who really enjoyed being out here and taking in this moment, and Jim talked about this before the break, former head coach Dan Reeves, who had that oh wow moment when he saw this pillar out here. And I think, Jim, the first two guys, Gene and Rick, were just really excited to be a part of this, but Coach Reeves, he was proud.
Very much so. Tremendous, a great moment for all of them, and maybe because a head coach is so deeply involved in all aspects of the organization that the depth of it hits him harder, is deeper, is richer. It was great.
We've met Gene, we've met Rick. Here's head coach Dan Reeves' experience through this Ring of Fame weekend.
Dan Reeves won 117 games as the Broncos head coach and is the first coach inducted into the Ring of Fame. He led the Broncos to 5 AFC West titles. His Broncos were the only AFC team to go to 3 Super Bowls in the 80s. Dan was the only AFC coach in the 1980s to lead his team to consecutive Super Bowls. He had 7 10-win seasons, was named AFC Coach of the Year 3 times. Dan Reeves is the only person in history to score 42 touchdowns as a player and post 190 wins as a head coach. At this time, Mrs. Bolin is going to present Dan Reeves with his ring. And now, we direct all of our attention upward as we ask our fans to unveil the plaque with Dan Reeves' name on it for the Ring of Fame.
Well, to say the least, I'm humble. You know, I'm honored. And I'm thrilled to join these two men and the rest of the members of the Ring of Fame for this great honor. Thank you, Denver Bronco fans. Go Broncos!
It's an unbelievable feeling. I don't know that I've ever received an award, you know, that meant as much to me as that did. You know, to be a head coach for your first time, spend 12 years, you know, in Denver and have the success that we had. Didn't get the big success that we wanted, but, you know, just 12 great years of my life. Really, when you look at who you're in there with, that's a great feeling too, to see all of the great players, people that you know, coached, but also people that you admired by, you know, watching them and seeing how great they were at their job. And I think what that says is that I'm receiving this award on behalf of an awful lot of people that helped me, you know, make this. Everybody in that organization, you know, is a part of me receiving this. And I mean that sincerely. You cannot win unless the entire organization, everybody's on the same page. And it starts with the ownership. I mean, you look at Pat Bolin and the record that Pat has achieved in his 30 years here is incredible. I mean, it's always second to none in the National Football League.
Coach Reeves, I think, Jim, really personifying what this weekend is all about, especially there at the end with emotions sometimes taking over, but that's okay.
It's absolutely okay. There are certain times when the tears and the almost tears fit in perfectly, and Ring of Fame weekend is one of those.
When you make the decision to bring in 3, you got to deal with a lot of people and, of course, a lot of emotions, a lot of experiences, a lot of memories. When do you start the process for next year? How does it work, how you select the Ring of Fame?
Well, someone has to have been with the organization for at least 4 years and retired for at least 5, and then the committee, which is a committee of 5 people, meets sometime we'll meet in 2015. It's usually an April, May, June meeting, and there's usually just one. I'll usually present all of the newly eligibles and kind of the old business, and you just see which of the sparks becomes a flame. Obviously, they're all tremendous, but it goes from there with the conversation, and usually winds up being unanimous, though it is not mandatory that it is. But the point is, that's the quality of guy you're dealing with, that it usually winds up that way.
Yeah, whether it's a group of 3 from a previous kind of generation of football, or even last year with Tom Nalen, or some we've seen recently with Shannon Sharp, or even not too long ago with Floyd Little, the excitement to be a part of this group, this fraternity, which is already inside the fraternity of the Denver Broncos. They love it every single time, and we look forward to seeing who you guys start selecting and look hopefully to place in here next season.
It'll be exciting, Chris.
It will be, starting in the spring. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. That's going to do it for this year's Ring of Fame special here on Comcast. We really appreciate you taking the time. And remember, this Ring of Fame Plaza, as we said before, it's open all the time. Come down, check it out, and we'll see whose pillar is added next year. Thanks so much.